A barking, lunging dog straining at the end of a leash commands immediate attention. The noise and the physical chaos fill the entire environment. Society often treats these visible explosions as fixed personality traits, relying on labels like aggressive or stubborn to describe the animal. These outbursts are temporary emotional states passing across the dog, driven by internal conditions that aren't immediately obvious from the sidewalk. Beneath that violent storm lives a settled animal, a baseline state of quiet, comfortable curiosity. In this framework, we call that natural baseline the white horse. To find that settled animal, a handler has to stop reacting to the dog's shouting. Finding the white horse requires rewinding the encounter to hear the physical whispers that happened before the storm broke. Attaching a permanent label to a temporary emotional storm makes it difficult to notice the environmental signals the dog is struggling with. When you only see the aggressive dog, you miss the specific triggers you need to address to help them. Rewinding a behavioral explosion by just 10 seconds often reveals the first cause of the outburst, and usually it isn't the dog. This chronological timeline splits the flow of emotional energy into 3 distinct blocks, the 3 windows. The first window begins with the handler. Dogs read micro changes in your physical state. A tightened grip or held breath spikes the dog's arousal before the encounter even begins. Because the leash acts as a direct conduit for your anxiety, the first step in behavior modification is keeping a tension journal on your own physical reactions. The second window identifies the specific emotional vector of the dog's reaction. When a dog's weight shifts backward, they are following a fear vector. Their body is asking for safety and distance from whatever they've just noticed. Conversely, if the dog's weight pours forward, they are caught in a frustration vector. This is the energy of a blocked desire. The dog is straining to reach something the leash won't allow. However, physical builds like docked tails or heavy cropped ears can create a morphology trap that masks these vectors. In these cases, you have to look for microsignals, like the appearance of a hard eye or a rigid spine. Identifying whether the dog's body is moving toward or away from the stimulus allows you to provide what they actually need, whether that's more space for safety or a controlled outlet for their frustration. The final window looks at the explosion itself, and more importantly, what happens once the trigger has passed. The volume of the bark is less important than the mechanics of the dog's physical recovery. You are looking for a discharge of energy, a dog that shakes off and returns their focus to you, rather than an animal that remains locked in a high-tension freeze. Measuring the length of this recovery window is the most accurate metric for tracking a nervous system's ability to return to a baseline state of safety. This forensic approach shifts the goal of training. You aren't trying to prevent every single storm. You are trying to protect and shorten the recovery period. This graph shows the downward trend in recovery time we look for over weeks of journaling. Success is measured by a shrinking duration between the stressful event and the return of that baseline white horse state. By tracking these vectors and recovery times, you stop being an interrupter of bad behavior and become an active participant in a conversation. These microsignals are invitations to collaborate on safety. When you see the weight shift early, you can respond before the dog feels the need to shout. This creates a biological feedback loop. When the human slows down to observe, the dog's nervous system softens in response to that newfound steadiness. Developing a technical eye for a dog's emotional state shifts how you handle the leash. You stop guessing based on visible behavior and start responding to the specific physical data your dog is sharing with you.